Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview. My guest today is a musician. They have recently appeared on The Voice UK. They made it so far in the competition, and today they're going to come on and tell us more about themselves and their career.
Hello, my name's Meg Birch. I'm a 25-year-old singer-songwriter from Liverpool.
Thank you so much for coming, Meg. So today we're going to be chatting about your music career, and my first question is, when did you first get into the music world?
I think I knew I wanted to get into the music biz world when I was around 8 years old. I did a competition at school of Stars in Their Eyes and I strutted around as Shania Twain. And I think from there I kind of knew that that was my passion. I did well at drama and music and things like that at school, and I think it just felt like a natural thing to get into. But I think the most poignant moment was probably as I was leaving sixth form. I think I definitely knew then that it was what I wanted to do, and I started to put things in place to enable me to kind of, emerge into that world. So yeah, probably like 18, I'd say.
Oh, fantastic. And what was kind of the first project you did in your career?
Ooh, the first project. That is a great question. Yeah, so I think, so I ran like a YouTube channel when I was younger, and I'd put covers and things like that. But I think the first kind of body of work that I did was actually when I was at university. I did an EP, which now I would just cringe at completely. It's definitely not the sort of music I make now. And I used to have an awful stage name as well back in the day, which was Morgana Hart, which will forever haunt me. And I'd released this EP, and it did semi well, but I guess that was my first kind of taste of trying to create something. So I'd say that was like the first major project.
Oh, lovely. Thank you for sharing that. So, obviously, one big moment in your career was The Voice. So, what was it like going to the audition to even be on the show, and why did you decide to go on it?
Yeah, so I was a contestant on The Voice 2021, and yeah, it was a crazy experience. They actually approached me, so they scouted me through Instagram. And I think with everything going on in the world, with being in a flipping pandemic and everything, it just felt like the right time. And also with me being 25 now, I felt like I was at a time in my life where I was able to deal with the pressures of being on a TV show and, everything that kind of comes with being on one of those shows. So it just felt right. The auditions, there was a lot of auditions. It was a lengthy process to even get onto the programme. A lot of, behind the scenes work that just no one even knows about. And it was definitely nerve-wracking. It definitely took me out of my comfort zone, but it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, it does sound like an incredible experience, and it's great you got to do it. So, do you have any advice to people who want to get into the music world?
I think be very wary of it, and I don't mean that in a way of like sucking the fun out of the music business world. It's an amazing career to be part of, but it's not all what you see on telly or in the movies or whatever. There is so much hard work that goes into doing this as a career, and I think I underestimated that when I was younger. I think I thought, oh, surely at one point in your life things, you'll get that big break. I'm starting to realise that a lot of people don't actually ever get their big break, and it's a very frustrating industry, and it's difficult. And so I guess they were the things I would say, like, be wary of. But I guess what I want people to take away from this is actually it's an incredible thing to be part of, because firstly, I work for myself, so I can decide when I work, when I want to take a day off. The whole kind of being self-employed is an amazing thing. It's also extremely fun, and singing is my hobby that I now get paid for. Like, why wouldn't you want to do what you love as a job? I guess the main advice is always be yourself, always work hard, and just be wary of people, because there's some dodgy people out there. But as long as you do that and you have fun, you're onto a winner.
Yeah, that's some fantastic advice, and thank you for sharing it. I definitely think people can take something from that. So, you mentioned to me yesterday that you've been writing songs for other artists. You mentioned that some of them were in Asia, and you also have written some for K-pop. So, what is that like?
It's crazy. So for anyone who doesn't know what K-pop is, it stands for Korean pop music, and it's basically, if you think of the cheesiest pop music you've ever heard in your life, that's K-pop. It's like Western pop music on acid. Like, it's just crazy. And yeah, I've been writing for those artists for about a year now. A friend of mine approached me who was doing the writing and said, listen, do you want to collaborate with me on the writing and that sort of thing? So it's been amazing. It has its challenges. You have to make sure, you know, even like when you're writing a song for that market, you have to make sure that there's not too many words, because when they then translate it into their language, so say it's going to be translated into Japanese or Chinese, they have more syllables for our words, so you have to you have to write it so that there'll be enough space for them to sing it. All these like things that I've learned in the process of it. It's an incredible thing to be part of, but yeah, it's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does sound like a learning curve. And is it sometimes difficult writing those songs because you have to like fit everything in?
Yeah, it definitely comes with its challenges. You know, we basically get briefs from a label, and they'll tell us what sort of thing they're looking for. And some can either be really kind of vague, or some can be really like particular in what they want. And either one poses its challenges, because if it's vague, you're thinking, well, is this kind of what they meant? And you're kind of taking a stab in the dark. And equally, when it's really precise, there's less room for creativity. So it can be difficult. So yeah, it has its challenges, but I enjoy a challenge, so it's all good.
Oh, fantastic. And it does sound like it's a really cool experience to do. So, do you look up to anybody in the music world?
Ooh, I like that question. Yeah, I think there's people now that I really look up to, and there's people in the past that I really look up to. So in the past, I love a band called Fleetwood Mac. There was two females within that band, and if you know who they are, you'll know they were killer. One is called Stevie Nicks, and if you haven't heard of Fleetwood Mac and you haven't listened to them before, get on it. So I love Fleetwood Mac. I'd say nowadays the people I'm looking up to are people like Miley Cyrus and Dua Lipa. I think two big female artists that are absolutely dominating the charts right now, and I just think it's our time as women. Like, I just think what a time to make music when so much of mainstream pop music is being led, you know, by people like Miley Cyrus and Dua Lipa and Anne Marie, and you know, like the charts are just full of women. So I'm always inspired, whether it be old music or new music.
Yeah, fantastic. And then great that you get inspired by them. So, one story you've got to share, if you would like to, is about Elton John. So, I heard you nearly got to work with him. So, what's that all about?
Oh, okay. So this is actually, I've never told this story on any platform before. So I used to work with a group called Urban Voices Collective, and basically we were like a contemporary choir, and we would be hired for different jobs. So we did like backing vocals for Demi Lovato and various different artists over like the couple of years that I worked with them. And we had this one particular job. They said, Meg, are you free this Friday and Saturday? I said, yes, but why? He said, well, we can't tell you why, but you just need to come to some rehearsals, and then the performance will be on Sunday. So I said, okay. So I went to London, did these 2 days of rehearsals, having no idea who the job was for, but the songs we were learning were Elton John songs, and I was like, surely we can't be singing with Elton John. Like, he's such a massive icon. Like, we just won't be with Elton John. Anyway, we were told on the Saturday night, the day before the performance, they were like, you've probably guessed that you're going to be singing with Elton John. And I was like, no, stop. This is ridiculous. And I remember phoning my mum and dad and being like, I'm going to sing with Elton John, and thinking this is going to be the biggest thing on my CV ever. So the next day, turned up to the gig, and it was like a flash mob performance. So like, you know, when you're like sat in the, you pretend to be an audience member and then you stand up and you're actually like singing. So that's what we were going to do. And Elton John was going to be on stage. And James Corden was presenting the event that we were at. And so we met James Corden and he said, oh, Elton John won't be at the rehearsal today. He's just flying in for the performance. We were like all so excited. Got to the end of the show and Elton John was the finale. And James Corden started singing Elton's part. And like the whole finale, James Corden sang the Elton John songs. And when we finished, we were like, what happened? Like, what? Why did James Corden sing those songs and Elton John didn't? And the producers of the show said, we had to decide at the interval to let James sing the song, but basically Elton's people phoned us and were like, oh, it's too cloudy for us to get Elton's helicopter to land in central London, so he can't come anymore. And like, I was that close, and a flipping cloudy sky meant that he couldn't fly in and perform with us. So absolutely. So now I write on my CV, nearly sang with Elton John. I know, so unlucky. So yeah, so that's that story. Bit mad.
Yeah, so close, and thank you for sharing that story. I expect lots of people will be excited to hear that, but maybe in the future you'll get to work with him. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I feel like I put so much hard work into that. It was so frustrating, but what can you do? Maybe one day, as you say.
Yeah, maybe one day, we'll have to see. So even though you didn't get to work with Elton John, you've been able to work with amazing artists such as Kate Nash, Demi Lovato and Natasha Bedingfield. I don't know if I'm saying any of them right.
Natasha Bedingfield. Yeah, no, that was spot on.
Thank you. So what was it like working with them?
Oh, it was amazing. So I think the most crazy moment was definitely working with Demi Lovato. So we did the MTV EMA Awards. VMA Awards. It was the music video awards, and it was at Wembley in London. And like, being at Wembley was even just crazy enough as it was. Rita Ora was the host, and again we met her, and we did this rehearsal with Demi Lovato and the team. She was there in her sunglasses, and now I realise she was going through quite a troubled period of her life. But it was still incredible to be on the stage. To be honest, when it actually came to doing the performance, I really struggled to sing. I was just choking back, like tears going like, pinch me now. What even is this? Like, such a crazy moment. And when they film these TV shows and these award ceremonies, they have these like wire runners above your heads which like whiz and get like aerial shots of the stage. So you're stood there and you're seeing all these things fly around, and there's men on the stage, you know, like filming you, and then you're trying to remember what you're doing, and then you're like, oh my word, there's Demi Lovato in front of me, and it was just surreal. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it does sound surreal, and it's amazing you got to experience that. So have you always wanted to be a singer or a musician?
Yes, always. As I say, as a kid, it was always the thing that I knew I was best at. I've always been a natural show-off. And so it always was like, you know, everyone would say to me, oh, she's always going to end up on stage. It's just what she's going to do. And to be honest, there's been no time of my life where I've gone, oh, I wish I was doing something else, or I regret doing this. Like, this just feels like the most natural thing for me to do. So yeah, I think I always wanted to be a singer.
Yeah, that's great that you've always wanted to do it, and it's amazing how far you've come as well. So earlier on, we spoke about what it was like auditioning for The Voice and like how you got involved with it. But what was it actually like being on the show and getting to work with Anne-Marie?
It was crazy, and it feels like it didn't happen now. It feels like a blip, like it was all encompassing, and now it's finished. It's like, oh my gosh, did that actually happen? Anne-Marie is lovely. She was really lovely to work with. She was really polite. You know, she would ask me questions about myself and like, you know, off camera and things like that. But what I will say is, when you're on the show, you don't get you don't get loads of time with your coach. And so most of our conversations were like a staged conversation. It was like, Anne-Marie, ask Meg how she feels about the next round. You know, and then Anne-Marie would go, Meg, how do you feel about the next round? It didn't feel very organic and didn't feel very natural conversation. But it was, you know, she was lovely, and I feel really bad actually, because on the semi-final, we had a rehearsal and she was wearing this amazing outfit. And I said to her, I went, oh my word, I love what you're wearing. Where's it from? Thinking she'd say like Topshop or somewhere. And she was like, oh, it's Dolce & Gabbana. And I was like, oh, okay. And basically she had these like crazy trousers on that were like all shiny. And I actually said to her, I think I was just nervous. And I went, oh, Anne-Marie, those trousers are amazing. They look like a shiny fish skin. And I said that her trousers looked like fish skins. Like, what was I thinking? So yeah, I got a bit weird around Anne-Marie because I think I was just a bit starstruck. But it was amazing. There's loads of teams that work with you on the show. Like, I had a personal vocal coach, and you have like a choreography team, a styling team, and you become like a family when you're on the show. Like, it was, honestly, I feel like unless you go through it yourself, you just can't describe how crazy it is to be on a show like that. It was amazing.
Yeah, it does sound amazing, and it just sounds like an incredible experience overall. So where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Ooh, so I'll be 35. I think, by then, okay, my main goal in life is simply to be happy. And so I hope I hope by the time I'm 35, I'm still happy. I would love to, if I'm honest, some of the goals I have, I would love to do an album at some point. I would love to collaborate with some artists that I really love. I'd love to do that. I want to continue with my songwriting, and I'd love to have a big hit that either is mine or something I've written for someone else. I would love that. I'd love to have babies. I'd love to, and also one thing I'd love to do is I'd love to do a bit of acting. So if the perfect role came up on, I don't know, a TV show or in a musical, I'd love to do that. Like, how cool would that be? So I'm one of them where I have quite a few ideas of where my path could take me, but as long as I'm happy, that's all I care about.
Oh, lovely, and I agree, as long as you're happy, that's all that matters. And yeah, maybe we'll see you in a blockbuster in the future, you never know.
Fingers crossed, let's hope.
Yeah, that would be great. So I have one more question, and this is always my favourite one to ask, and is, do you have any music stories from The Voice or from any other parts of your career?
Music stories? As in like juicy stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, let me have a little think about this, because I've got a few, but I've also got a few that are not appropriate. Let me think. Okay, so there's been a few. So on the side, like, of big projects I've done, I have done a lot of wedding singing, like high-end wedding singing. And I guess a lot of my stories come from those sorts of events, because fundamentally at things like weddings and parties there are a lot of drunk people, and where there's a lot of drunk people there's a lot of interesting stories. So we've had some gigs where I had a lady who was so drunk that she kept trying to give me her handbag whilst I was singing and asked me to hold on to it while she wanted to dance. And I said, I'm not some sort of coke keeper, like, I can't hold your handbag, I'm actually performing right now. We've had people get their nudie bits out whilst we're singing, and I kid you not, every nudie part you can think of, we've seen. Oh gosh, what else? We've had times where the rain was so bad and we were performing in a marquee that our bass player had to put several Tesco bags over the equipment. So we were playing with like carrier bags over all our equipment to protect it. Gosh, what else? Just loads of mad stuff. Probably, you know, when someone asks you and then you then go, oh my word, I can't think. When we come off this call, I'll probably think about 1,000 more. But yeah, I've seen a few famous people at weddings, and yeah, some mad stories. If anyone watching ever gets into that line of work, you will understand what I mean very quickly. Every single gig has a story.
Yeah, those are some interesting stories, so thank you for sharing them. And it has been amazing speaking to you today, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much, and good luck with the channel. And I'll help you out here. If anyone hasn't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe, okay? Because this boy is onto big things. He's doing this at 14. It's amazing. So thank you so much, Charlie. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind of you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you coming on. And also, thank you to everybody who watched this video. I hope you enjoyed the interview and heard some new stories and things. And yeah, I'll see you next week for another interview. Bye, guys.